Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. So I hope everyone's doing good. I've been I kind of got a little bit behind with some of these videos. I just got a little busy there for a minute or two. I've been still recording videos almost every day, and I've been was sitting on some videos that I needed to upload, and I got them done. Still have, I think, one or two to finish up and eventually be posted here on this channel. But anyway, I want to thank again folks who've been chiming in, and I love comments when people comment and sharing recommendations of movies. Very, very cool. I had started a big series of where I was doing a bunch of westerns, and got some really cool feedback from that show. I still have to finish. I still have a lot more of those movies to go. But again, I kind of got, not that I got tired or burnt out, but I watched like probably about 8 to 10 westerns in a row. So I just kind of needed a break, and I moved on to some other things. And there's still a lot of movies that I need to that I want to get to and cover for this channel. I'm always realizing, in my time when I go through my movie collection, I'm like, oh wait, shit, I haven't talked about that movie. That movie's really awesome, or I should do a show on that. Or lately, I've gotten some Blu-rays on some movies or movies that I've had for a while that I haven't really watched since I bought. I've seen them a bunch of times, but I just never really sat down to watch them. And so I'm like, and I haven't. And then I realized, oh wait, I haven't even covered this movie, and this is a really awesome movie. So yeah, so there's always, always new things to come about. So, and I just put up a brand new show on a new movie. Again, I do lots of, I cover lots of old exploitation movies, and exploitation is my favorite. But I always try to bring variety along with that, and I just put up a show on a brand new slasher movie, Heart Eyes, which I was really let down with. I let down by I don't know. It's just one of those things. Don't believe the hype. But anyway, I'll shut up about that now. And if you get a chance, check out that review. It's Hard Eyes. I didn't see it in the theater. Just came out on physical media or DVD. I got it. I rented it this past Sunday or this past weekend. I rented some new movies. I got 3 new movies, and Heart Eyes was one of them. I almost saw that movie in the theater. I was really tempted to go see it in the theater, and I'm glad I didn't go see it. So anyway, and then along with that, I've been doing lots of music shows. So that's been a lot of fun, and I've been doing a couple of, I've been doing some fetish, latex, and smoking videos, and that's been fun. Just trying some new things. It's all part of my weird brain, and it's for me, it's all interconnected. And I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow, but I'm gonna do a little video on some quantum shows that are coming up, especially this weekend for the All Roads Festival. And so this past weekend, like I said, I rented three new, well, one brand new movie, and that was Heart Eyes. That's the newest one. And then I got this other movie that I thought was a new release, but it came out a few years back, called Ex Husbands. That was definitely more of a drama, and pretty good movie. I think I'm going to do a show on that. I got all these movies at Opera House Video, of course, the only video store standing left in Maine, which is insane, but they're doing really well. Like, I was in there on Saturday to rent some movies, and Dennis, the owner, said that they've been really, really busy, and we've had a lot of rainy weather uh, lately, and it's been nice so far. It's really nice today, and so far it's really nice. I think it's supposed to be nice for a few days, but we've had a lot of crappy rainy weather. And Dennis was saying, who is the owner of Opera House Video, was saying how they've been super busy. So that's awesome, and that's wonderful. So I got so the three new movies I I got were Heart Eyes from 2025. That video was just posted, and then more of a melodrama kind of a film called Ex Husbands, which I thought was actually really good. I actually enjoyed it way more than Hard Eyes. Completely different kind of a film, but pretty good. I'm gonna probably do a show on that. That came out just recently on DVD, but it actually came out about, I believe, like 3 or 4 years ago. And then another movie that I got, which was easily the best movie of the bunch, head and shoulders above every movie I saw, and that is House, and that is what today's show is going to be about. So I'm very excited to talk about this movie. I finished it up last night. So I didn't buy it, but I rented these movies, these three movies I just mentioned. I rented them at Opera House Video, of course, and I got this movie House, that is a Japanese movie that I'd heard about, and I don't know, I came across, and I think it was during it was when I was watching one of the YouTube guys that I watch usually. There's there's two YouTube guys that I watch quite a bit, and they're my favorite. That is 42nd Street Forever, which he's a British YouTube guy, and he really uh, specializes in all things exploitation. Amazing fucking channel. And then also another amazing channel is Mood616, who is a Canadian YouTube guy. And I believe those are my two favorites. And those two guys, I believe fairly recently they talked about this movie. And came across, I also came across it somewhere too online. But I never saw this movie. I didn't know anything about it. I know I had this sense, I guess, from what I had heard or briefly read about the movie, that this movie was way the fuck out there, like super strange. And so when I was at Opera House Video on Saturday, I saw that they had this on Blu-ray, and it was a Criterion collection. So I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get this. So I just didn't look at the cover, didn't know anything about this movie. I know it was going into it, I felt like, okay, this is gonna be probably pretty strange and kind of more of an experimental, art house kind of a film. And this movie, and I finished it yesterday, and I have to say this, I was blown away by this movie. It's a masterpiece, complete masterpiece in every way, shape, and form. I wish I, well, again, there's so many movies to check out, and I'm always discovering new movies, and discovering all kinds of new directors. And to me, that is the greatest thrill of being a movie fan, and also, running this channel. And House came out in 1977. And this movie, like I said, is completely fucking bonkers. I don't know how else to describe it. It was directed by Nobuhiko Obashashi. Pardon my bad pronunciation. It's a Japanese movie. It came out in 77. It's, man, I don't even know how to describe this movie. The basic kind of synopsis of this movie is it's about a schoolgirl traveling with her friends to her aunt's country home, where they come in contact with all of these kinds of, all of the a series of all of these like really supernatural events take place. Like essentially, this house that they go to is more or less haunted. And I think in a nutshell, this is, well, kind of like what the title says. It's essentially a haunted house movie, but so unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, the Japanese. I have some really great Japanese films that I've gotten that Mondo Macabre has put out, and Japanese cinema in the '60s and '70s was so incredibly, I guess, innovative and just completely wild. And the movies that I've owned, I had been familiar with some of the Japanese films, but more in the well, like two of my favorite directors, Takashi Miike and Akira Kurosawa, are two of my favorite directors. But I hadn't really explored the more, I guess, sleazy side of Japanese cinema, or the more, um, kind of underground exploitation world of Japanese cinema. Turkish Bathhouse is one that I have, which is just a completely fucking insane movie. But those movies and a slew of other Japanese films, particularly around the '60s and '70s, are really experimental, really wild, really. They explore all kinds of insane taboos. They're really violent, generally hard to watch, really disturbing. You know, all the things you want from a movie. And House is, it's got to be it's definitely one of the most bizarre movies I've ever seen. Definitely, definitely without a doubt in recent memory, in recent times. But it's got, and again, I think essentially it's a haunted house movie. With the title, of course, being a big part of it. It's essentially a ghost story about these kids that go to this haunted house. But the way the story kind of unfolds, and the visual aspect of this movie, it is literally, like, it's so bonkers. I remember having a reaction to where I was watching. I was like, I wish I kind of did drugs still and watched this movie, even though I'm just kind of being funny. But that was one of my reactions. It's it's definitely a horror movie in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of other aspects to it. It's to call House a horror film is maybe, well, not really. I think it kind of does a disservice to the movie because it has so many other elements thrown in. It's it's actually really funny, and um the thing I was just blown away by is that this was a Criterion release, and I mean, this movie is pure madness, and I'm just like, wow, the Criterion Company has come a long way because for years and years they've definitely expanded their whole catalog of the kinds of films that they put out, but for years and years they always kind of put out more of lots of art house films, a lot of foreign films, but as far as movies that are kind of deranged, or movies that are, that you could consider, that I consider to be kind of more a part of the exploitation world, they kind of, I felt like they stayed away from that. But now it's definitely expanded. It's insane. Like I even have, and as far as not really taking a deep dive with horror films, like I have a really amazing Night of the Living Dead, the original George Romero film, which is a Criterion release, which is astoundingly amazing. They've really changed. They've really expanded their releases, and Criterion's amazing. I don't own a lot of Criterion. Night of the Living Dead is probably my favorite Criterion release that I have. I got that on Blu-ray. The main reason is I don't buy a lot of their movies because I well, it's the price. Their movies are very very expensive generally, but they on the other side of things they definitely do an amazing job with the packaging and the remastering of a lot of these classics. They have a ton of Akira Kurosawa films. They have a lot of Fellini movies, and also films like The Seventh Seal, Igmar Bergman films. A lot of just classic cinema. They also have you know Truffaut films. Just classic European, just classic European films, and so they've done that. They've had that kind of niche for a long time, but now they've expanded to where you can get a lot of these more horror based films and things like that. And I definitely consider House to be definitely a experimental but underground, definitely underground experimental exploitation movie. I mean, because it's wild, but it has again, it's a horror film and it's a ghost story. But it's very funny. It's very surrealistic. It feels like you're in a really intense fever dream. Visually, this movie is just jaw dropping, and the way it's put together, the editing, the acting is great, the cast is phenomenal. I can't believe this came out in '77. I mean, I was just floored by it. It also has like I think this movie has a big influence from of a lot of directors, a lot of European kind of surrealist directors like Louis Buñuel or even Fellini. I think that this film has a big influence by French and Italian cinema. Especially in the surrealistic genre. But it's also um, it has the horror elements. There is some gore in the film, and it's really incredibly creepy, very nightmarish. But it has a cool balance. There's so many different tones. It's beautiful. It's whimsical. It's it has a really cool emotional quality, particularly around the characters of these girls. It has a lot of heart, but it also is completely deranged at the same time. There's one scene of one of the characters, and I did watch I did watch an interview with the cast of this film, and they were talking about how and where the inspiration came from. And one of the actresses was talking about how when she was a kid, she had gone to her aunt's house, and this film was a lot of aspects from the film were based on her experience, which was wild. But there's one sequence in this movie in particular that just blew me away, where this girl is the main character. She plays piano a lot throughout the movie, and there's one scene where she's sitting at this piano and she's playing, but while she's like playing piano, the piano like basically cuts off her fingers like one by one, and then as it goes, the piano is you get the sense that this piano is alive and is like this demon or a monster, and it starts eating her, or cuts off her arms, or starts eating her arms and her legs, and before you know it, while she's playing, she's actually being sucked into the piano and being kind of eaten alive. It's so bizarre. It's so wild. What a trip. The transfer of this movie, it is Criterion. I mean, it's immaculate. The sound design is amazing. I definitely need to buy this movie at some point if I see it in my travels. I again, I was so blown away. I went into this totally cold. I knew it was probably going to be a trip and it was going to be a very strange journey, but I didn't. I didn't know. I went into it totally cold, and I am so glad I did because, yeah, again, I was just blown away by it, and I didn't know what year this movie came out. I knew this movie going in was an older film, but I didn't. I was blown the fuck away when I realized that it came out in 1977. Like, what? Just wild. And the other thing that's so wild is the filmmakers and the people involved in this film were talking about. This came out right around the time when Jaws, Steven Spielberg's classic film, came out, and in such a weird way. But then after seeing this interview and these interviews on the special features aspect of this disc, they were talking about Jaws coming out, and that was a major hit, obviously in the United States and worldwide, and it's a masterpiece, and it's definitely a horror film. But they were saying on how that Jaws was a huge influence on this movie, and I was like, huh, wow, that's crazy. And thinking about it and realizing a lot of the sequences, I was like, you know what, I can see that. Even though it's totally fucking bonkers and out to lunch, I can see how Jaws was a massive inspiration, and they kind of, I guess, ripped it off in an exploitative kind of a way. But it's really its own thing. Like, it's more. I think House is more. It's a movie, but I think it's more of just this. It's more of an experience. I do think the script is really great. It's not just a movie that's based on just kind of visual cues and it just looks beautiful, but I think it actually has a really interesting story. The group of the actresses who play these girls they're pretty phenomenal. There's a really cool chemistry. It's about this. I think it's kind of there's elements of the film where I feel like it's about kind of a coming of age story. It's also the supernatural elements of where these girls come in contact with, these, I guess, the spirit realm, if you will. But very, very cool. Like, the script is really great. I do think you could watch this movie without the sound, almost as like a silent film, and still get that experience. There are big chunks of the movie where there's not necessarily a lot of dialogue, but it's so visually stunning. This would be amazing to see. Like, like I just recently saw Eraserhead at the Waldorf Theater for part of the Waldorf After Dark, and I was just completely blown away by that experience. But I would imagine seeing a movie like this where it's so visually rich, seeing that there would be just like getting the chance to see it on the big screen would be just mind blowing. Incredible film. And again, I was floored when I realized that this came out in '77. I can't recommend this movie enough. So if you're in a mood for something that will blow your mind in every conceivable way, I highly recommend checking out House from 1977. A movie like no other. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.